Thank you, and good afternoon to members of the Development and Property Committee, and welcome to our meeting of September the 12th. I'll call this meeting to order, but before we get into the agenda, I'd ask those who are in attendance and members of committee stand for a moment of silence to honor the memory of the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, please. Thank you. Call on Sheldon for the land acknowledgement. Sheldon, please.
As we gather this afternoon, I'd like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years.
Thank you, Sheldon. Roll call has been taken.
Yes, and we have quorum. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Did any member wish to disclose any pecuniary interest on any of the matters before us today? Seeing none, I need a motion to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting held on August the 9th. Any errors or omissions to the minutes is distributed. Seeing none, I need a motion, please. Sheldon, seconded by Dan. All in favor? They are carried. We have a delegation with us today, and I'll pass it on to Jason.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll pass this off to Melissa Marquardt, so she has a better introduction than I think I could do. So, Melissa.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I'm pleased to introduce George Gilfillan with the Renfrew County Community Futures Development Corporation, who is accompanied by Cindy Phillips, the Executive Director of our Renfrew County Community Futures Delegation, or Community Futures Development Corporation, who are here today to present a gift to Chair Sweet on behalf of the Provost of Renfrewshire, Scotland. George went to visit the motherland this summer and took a gift to present to the Provost, and has since returned with a gift for our chair, and so I'll leave it over to George. Thank you, George.
Thank you. Thanks, Melissa, for the introduction. So, as Melissa was saying, I had the pleasure of going back to Scotland last month, and we had arranged a meeting with the Lady Provost, Lorraine Cameron, to further strengthen the relationship between Renfrew County and Renfrewshire, which I've had the pleasure of living in both, and both are beautiful places. So it's really exciting to see this relationship strengthen. As Melissa mentioned, we did take a gift of friendship over to the Lady Provost, who returned a gift to the Mayor and also to the Warden. So I'd like to present those to you both.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me this time.
Well, thank you very much, George. I certainly appreciate that, and certainly it's nice to have you here in council. Just to let everyone know, this is an ongoing situation. We hope to see this flourish as the time goes on with the Provost Cameron. So thank you for doing that. I hope to be over there myself next year sometime and visit the, what did you call it? The motherland. The motherland. There you go. Good for you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. With that,
Chair?
sorry, Warden.
Thank you very much, Chair. And just like Christmas, I open my gifts right away. So this is absolutely gorgeous. So it's wonderful. I'm just speechless. It's so nice. And I'm hopefully that we'll send maybe a video thank you back over to Renfrew Shire.
Could you use your microphone, Chair Sweet, please?
I got a wee dram of the golden elixir here. There. Oh, and some cufflinks. There you go. Very nice. Thank you very much. That's great. Okay. Yeah, something. They're gorgeous. That must be the tartan. This is exciting. Christmas in September.
Planning on reusing that paper, Chair?
Pardon me? Meeting's adjourned. There we go. Okay. So with that, we will then go to the Development and Property Committee report, which can be found on page 3.
And
Jason. Welcome,
thank you, Chair, and thank you again through you and to the committee members. And as you can see in the report, very fulsome report that I have for you. So I have no items in my report, whether by choice or by happenstance. But again, thank you very much for having me on my inaugural session. And if I can, Chair, at this time, I'd like to thank Kevin Raditz and his team, and Tina Poplinski and Craig Kelly for the ongoing protocols we've been following since the Queen's death. So staff have been on site throughout the weekend to raise and lower the flag. So thank you very much for the staff to go above and beyond their typical day-to-day duties. So thank you, Chair, and that's my departmental report.
Thank you. So there's nothing really there to ask committee about at this point in time. So with that, we will go to the Economic Division report, which can be found on page 5. Melissa, please.
Thank you, Chair Sweet. Number 1 is a Taste of the Valley. And as you know, we've held the 2 first Taste of the Valley events last month, August 19th in Barry's Bay and August 26th in Eganville, attracting approximately 2,500 visitors to Barry's Bay and another 1,000 visitors to Eganville. We had great vendor attendance at both locations. Unfortunately, we did lose a couple of vendors at the Eganville location on the day of, just due to the bad weather that was forecasted in the morning. But otherwise, we had a really great event those 2 days. And just a reminder that we have 4 upcoming events left: September 24th in Renfrew, October 1st in Deep River, October 2nd in Arnprior, and October 15th in Cobden. Second item is the Farms Open event, and this is a new agritourism event being spearheaded by the Ottawa Valley Food Co-op, and this is taking place this Sunday, September 18th. There are 9 locations involved, spreading from Chalk River through to Renfrew, through to Dacre, down to Cumbermere, Golden Lake area, as well as Calabogie. And this event is being supported by the Economic Development Division as well as the OVTA, as we are supporting with some radio advertising and marketing support at this time to try and drum up a little bit more awareness about this new event. The group is very gracious to have our support, and as you can see, we've got a wide variety of different farming operations participating. Lastly, just quickly, myself as well as our Business Development Officer, David Waibu, will be attending the Ontario East Municipal Conference later this week in Cornwall, as well as CAO Craig Kelly and Warden Robinson and Councillor Peckett will also be attending as well. And that completes the Economic Development Report.
Thank you. We'll go back to item number 1, Taste of the Valley. Any comments or questions on item number 1? good response coming forward with that, and it seems to be growing again. It's nice to see that back in person, so to speak, and not virtual. It's great to see that. That's great. Item number 2, the new event. I hope this is very well received. Sorry, Dan?
Thank you, Chair. To Melissa, is there hours that this thing will be on? I didn't see that anywhere.
Through you, Chair. Yes, apologies, I missed that in the report. It is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Sunday.
Thank you.
Further on too. It's quite a cross-section of opportunities in the farming or agricultural community to take advantage of, to view it. Unsung heroes out there at the farming community, aren't they? Nothing further on 2, then item number 3. Any comments on 3? Seeing none, then we'll go to the tourism reports, which can be found on page 14.
Thank you, Chair. The first item is a new report that we're receiving from Destination Ontario called the Ontario Tourism Industry Health Check. And these are reports that have started being distributed to destination marketing organizations and regional tourism organizations to help track the recovery efforts of the tourism industry from the COVID-19 pandemic. So as if some of you may be aware, and Mayor Sweet is aware, we do not receive local tourism data at the census level anymore. Since 2016, we only receive data at the regional level, so at the Ontario's Highlands region, which does include Renfrew County. So unfortunately, we don't have a breakdown at the census level, but this does provide a really good breakdown at the regional level on this information and more detailed occupancy information than we have received previously in the past. The interesting thing also about this report is that it breaks out short-term rental accommodations versus the traditional accommodators, which is something that the province has not tracked previously also. So it does provide those industry numbers and just shows the growing demand and use of the short-term rental accommodation industry that makes up part of our tourism industry now. Item number 2 is the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association supports a number of media relations efforts as well as hosting influencers and travel writers. And over the past year and a half, we have supported 2 authors who have put the Ottawa Valley in print in various coffee books that I have here that are available for everyone should they wish to see them. So the first one is Laura Byrne-Paquette, who is an author from Ottawa, and she is an influencer that handles or writes for OttawaRoadTrips.com. She produced 2 books, one which is your 100-kilometer getaway guide, and the second which is your weekend getaway guide. So each focusing on day trips, 100-kilometer day trips from Ottawa, as well as weekend getaway trips up to 400 kilometers from Ottawa. And so we work with them to include a number of our communities, including Arnprior, White Lake and Burnstown, Renfrew, Calabogie and Eganville, Pembroke, Petawawa, Deep River, and Barry's Bay. And then we've also worked with Ron Brown, who has published a number of his books in the past, The Backroads of Ontario, which is now in the 6th edition, as well as the top unusual things to see and do in Ontario. And we were pleased to support him on his research endeavors also. And so in those books, we have sections that include along the Ottawa River from Arnprior to Pembroke, tripping the mighty Madawaska River, the Opeongo Pioneer Road, Newfoundout, the Bonashare Caves, and the Rockingham Church. So we're very pleased to have supported these 2 authors and have the Ottawa Valley further instoned in print. The third item is, as previously reported a month prior, we had received funding from the Ontario's Highlands Tourism Organization to deliver a culinary tourism strategy for the Ottawa Valley and Renfrew County. And we have since received an additional $8,000 for a total of $58,000, which will cover off 100% of that strategy development now. So we're very gracious to Ontario's Highlands for that additional funding support. And the last item is number 4. We are hosting a happy hour and bonfire event for Ottawa Valley Tourist Association members and tourism industry stakeholders. This will be our first in-person event since 2019. So we're very excited to be bringing the operators and the industry together for just a little bit of a kickback event to network with each other, celebrate all the hardships and the successes that we've had in recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, and in particularly the busy summer season that we've had this year. So that event is happening on September 28th at Wilderness Tours from 5 to 8 p.m. Of course, elected and Development and Property Committee are invited and encouraged to attend and network with fellow tourism operators. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Item number 1, comments or questions? Warden, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Through you to Melissa. I understand that we aren't going to get exactly what's happening in the County of Renfrew through this industry health check, but I'm wondering if you could just share with us what you know about how the tourism industry is recovering in our area.
Certainly, thank you for the question. Through you, Chair Sweet. Anecdotally, I can say that the struggle right now is with workforce in terms of the industry recovery, and that is across the board for all sectors, not specifically just the tourism industry. We know that there is great demand in terms of what our region has to offer to consumers, being a rural destination, a place to disconnect from urban city busy life and get to reconnect with loved ones in a more relaxed setting. And that has created pressures for our industry, obviously, as well as the operators who are trying to meet those demands given the workforce challenges right now. So we know that operators are working as hard as they can to be able to meet the demands of the visitors and provide a really great experience. We know just anecdotally that restaurants have been busier this summer. It's nearly impossible to find a place to stay on a weekend around here, as well as during the week over the summertime, so that is very encouraging to hear. Our shoulder seasons, which is the late fall, spring, continue to be a bit of a challenge in terms of providing increased awareness about the region and things to do, because summer and fall and winter are our primary tourism seasons here. So we are looking to work with the industry and our regional partners to help create more opportunities in those shoulder seasons. But the industry is recovering. We haven't seen levels quite back to 2019 yet, but in certain sectors we are getting there. Of course, once international travel does return at full force, then we'll definitely see the numbers pop up a lot higher then. So it's a slow process, but we're getting there with the best that the industry can with what they've got to work with for now.
Follow up?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I want to just acknowledge the work that the OBTA has done as well. I mean, you're a resilient group, and any of the opportunities that I've had to talk to anybody in the tourism business in the County of Renfrew, I mean, those folks are determined that they're going to keep going and find a way through this. And anything that the OBTA does around supporting their members is absolutely fantastic, and you should be very proud of your efforts.
Thank you for that. Further on item number 1, or any data that's behind it. Seeing nothing, item number 2. Where would we see these books exactly, Melissa? Oh, they're right there. Okay. Okay.
Yes, I do have copies here. They're also available, I believe, the Backroads of Ontario and the usual things to do in Ontario are for sale via Indigo also. And then the Ottawa road trips are available through Ottawa Press and Publishing in Ottawa.
Any comments or questions on item number 2? Item number 3. It's nice to get some money to cover the cost. That's good. Item number 4. Have a good time down there. I'm sure you will get together and network. That's good. Okay, with that then, we'll go on to Enterprise Renfrew County on page 26.
Thank you, Chair. Item number 1 is the spring and fall intake for Starter Company Plus. So we just completed the last intake, and so we had 10 completed participants, and 8 participants successfully earned $4,000 grant awards. And the list is in the report, including Evernew Recovery and Rehabilitation, which is located in Petawawa, and they're an athletic therapy company. Fire Q, which is a barbecue smoker grill all-in-one production and located in Renfrew. Canadian Baby Co., which is a baby clothing store located in Pembroke. Small Town Co., which is a women's clothing store and boutique located in Douglas. The Valley Clean Co., which is a cleaning company located out of Braeside. Redneck Recipes, a preserves and food education company located out of Arnprior. U Crafts, homemade artisanal crafts located out of Beachburg. And Kelly Salon Services Unbound, which provides services for salons and long-term cares located in Arnprior. And the fall sessions, intake sessions were delivered September 1st and 6th, and we had 46 participants in attendance, and training begins on September 21st for that program. Item number 2, summer company. So we just are wrapping up the final summer company program for 2022, and there were 4 program participants this year, including Evelyn Nickerson out of Barry's Bay with her company Evelyn, which was a mixed media artist and seamstress. Calla Chantrell, who offers private paddling instruction with her company Kayak Her. Noah Pritchard, who provides lawn care services, as well as Jaden Collier, who offers lawn care services. And the final grants right now will be determined just as we wrap up the program and as final reports are submitted. And if you will refer to it to Appendix ERC1, there is a snapshot of the 4 summer students and their companies. And so from the top left is Jaden Collier. Over on the top right is Calla Chantrell, bottom left is Evelyn Nickerson, and bottom right is Noah Pritchard. And we actually have Evelyn Nickerson with us joining us via Zoom today, who she's here and just smiling, and we'd just like to introduce Evelyn and give her an opportunity to tell committee about her business and her experience and where people can find some of her products coming up this year. So I will pass it over to Evelyn.
Hello. I hope you can hear me. Yeah. I'm currently at my school. I've had a great time with the Renfrew Enterprise. I've attended many shows along the Renfrew Valley. I was at the Kiloo Craft Fair. I'm going to be at the Fall Studio Tour and the Makers Market coming up on the 24th. I've made great progress and I've had lots of awesome experience. And have had a great time. I don't really know what else to say.
That's great. Thank you very much, Evelyn. We just wanted to have an opportunity to introduce your business as one of the summer company participants to committee. So thank you. We'll let you get back to school now.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Any questions for Evelyn while she's on the video, the Zoom? No questions? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being part of the program, and continued success as you go forward.
Thank you.
And lastly, on the Enterprise Renfrew County report is just an update on our outreach and partnerships. So September 21st, in partnership with Renfrew County Community Futures, the Business Development Bank, we're hosting a succession planning workshop at the Horton Community Center from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and that is free for anyone to attend. And also, Small Business Week planning is happening. So there are a number of workshops and training in person and virtually being conducted the week of October 16th to 20th, which is Small Business Week. And those are being done in partnership with Community Futures, as well as the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber of Commerce, Local Immigration Partnership, and the Renfrew and Area Chamber of Commerce. And registration information will be submitted shortly, but the workshops that are coming up are wellness for entrepreneurs, purpose-driven ventures, leadership for entrepreneurs and newcomers, as well as a product photography workshop. And that concludes the ERC report.
Thank you. Go back to item number 1. Any comments or questions, concerns with item number 1? Seeing none. Item number 2. Nice video there. Thank you for that. And item number 3, the outreach partnership program. Peter.
Thank you. glad to see this. I think we've all been aware of, or suspected we're aware of, the changes that might come with to our local economy as people get a little older or make some choices in life. And I think we're all worried that our smaller communities might lose some businesses. So it's nice to see that we have started linking people up, or at the very minimum, giving them information, and then they can start making some of their own choices about whether they want to start a business or transfer it. So I'm glad to see this. I think I've often thought there's a little bit of a wave that we are not aware of that might be forming in the next few years, especially when you look across every other sector, whether it's healthcare or teaching or business. And so it's nice to see this. So thank you for this.
Further on that item? Seeing none, then we'll go to item E, the Forestry and GIS Division Report, which can be found on page 30. Jason, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. This time I'd like to pass this off to Ms. Lacey Rose, who has an opportunity to do the Forestry GIS report. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason, and thank you, Chair. So through you, Chair, to committee, on page 30 of your report, you'll see some information items on the forestry activities. So recently we had a very successful public information tour at the Beachburg Tract, and an impressive, for us, 20 or so people in attendance, including local council members, Beachburg Off-Road Cycling Association, or BORCA volunteers, and the public. The main reason for that tour was that we do have an upcoming harvest operation in our most used tract, which you've already heard about, I think, at previous meetings. It will be quite visually different before and after, so we've been taking a number of measures to do in advance public consultation and information leading up to that harvest activity. So of course we talked about that on the tour, but we also talked about other important forestry issues like invasive species and the regeneration of the future forest, as well as the history of that county forest and others, including why we have county forests. I think the turnout was a good indication of how important the use of social media is in outreach activities these days. We have now a Renfrew County Forest Facebook page and created an event for this tour, and that was how most people heard about it. So I think that's a good indication of like measures we can take in the future. Also on the outreach train, we are finally back to celebrating National Forest Week this year after a COVID hiatus. So during the week of September 18th to 24th is National Forest Week, and very excited to be teaming up with the OVTA and collaborating with Shaw Woods Outdoor Education Center. We're hosting a guided forest hike through the old growth forest and a following yoga session at Shaw Woods. And the poster is included in Appendix 4 GIS 2. Chair, would you like me to stop here or continue to the resolutions?
Well, let's just go and finish that one, and then we'll move on to your resolution. Any comments or questions on item number 1? Seeing none, okay, then let's do the resolution.
Okay, so I'll read the recommendation first. That the Development and Property Committee directs staff to enter into a short-term land use agreement with the Beachburg Off-Road Cycling Association, or BORCA, to allow a small storage container on the Beachburg Tract pending approval, and further that staff review the need of a storage container on an annual basis. So the background on this is it was a request from BORCA. They do a lot of work as volunteers on the Beachburg Forest. They take complete responsibility for managing those trails, and with the changing of volunteers over time, it's become a bit of a hassle to be shuffling around the equipment that they use to do work on the trails. So they asked if they could place a CCAN on site to avoid having to move things around from one volunteer's garage to another. It would be insured by BORCA, locked and out of the way, and we've requested that if this was to happen, it be a discrete color. BORCA would also contact the Township of Whitewater Region to ensure the proposed storage unit was permitted. Would you like to stop there?
Yeah, then I'll get a mover and a seconder on this particular motion. Sheldon, seconded by Kathy. Discussion. Dan.
Thank you, Chair, to Lacey. I'm in favor of this. I'm curious, with the lease or rental of the container, could we or they get someone to paint a nice either logo or something in the way of either native or county-oriented thing on this rather than have the gray or steel metal container? Thank you.
Lacey?
Through you, Chair. So I think the desire would be for it to blend into the environment to make it less susceptible to theft and break and entry. So I think that they would prefer it to be in a place where it wouldn't really be noticed. Definitely that can be a problem in the forest tracks. For example, when we have harvesting going on, the operators have to park in a way to prevent break and entry. But that's a really good point, and if it does end up having to be in a visible location, we can certainly bring that forward to them.
Further? So it was duly moved and seconded. If there's no further questions, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed, if any, it's carried. Go to the next resolution.
Okay, so the next recommendation, and I'll just read it, is that the Development and Property Committee directs staff to submit an application to the Natural Resources Canada, NRCan, Flood Hazard Identification and Mapping Program, and further that staff bring back to committee for their review and acceptance if successful. So the background on this is NRCan has launched this program to flow federal funding up to 50% of reimbursement for eligible activities. So basically the local applicability here is that since the major flooding events in 2017-19, it was recognized that improved mapping would be beneficial. And there is an opportunity to partner with some local municipalities for grant application up to that 50%. And those would be municipalities where that LiDAR data already exists. So that much of the work has been done, and the funding would be to process and analyze that data that was collected in 2019-20. And if successful, the proposal would be brought back for discussion.
Questions? Comments? Peter?
Please forgive my ignorance, but the reference to light detection has me confused.
I'm going to pass that one over to Jason.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Councillor Ema. So LiDAR, light detection and ranging, it's an acronym where a company and technology can collect data or elevational data using this LiDAR information. So in 2019 and 2020, the province of Ontario did collect LiDAR information for a portion of Renfrew County, specifically along the Ottawa River and the Bonnechere River watershed. And that's why when Lacey mentioned a certain number of municipalities, it's not the entire Renfrew County. It's just about, I think it's 11 municipalities within Renfrew County that have LiDAR that the province collected that can be used for this application. So the biggest concern for me, Chair, if I may go just a little bit longer and beyond Councillor Iman's question, the biggest concern for me is 50% funding is nice, but the potential cost for this project could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, and that's why we put the cautionary note where we'll bring this back if successful to come back to the county and the local municipalities that could be partnering with us to see what the exact costs are going to be. So thank you, Chair.
So what you're looking for today is a green light to go ahead and do some investigating, and that's one of the obvious questions that would be asked. If it's $500,000 and we're getting 250, where's the balance coming from? So that we still have that option to take a look at it when it comes back. I don't know if that's what we want to do, if we're comfortable with that, but that's the situation as it stands right now. We don't know what it's going to cost. Correct?
Chair, through you to committee. So right now, as of today, we do not know. We've asked a number of consulting companies to give us a high-level estimate because the due date for this application is this Friday. So it's a quick turnaround time for the application, and we're hoping to have at least one, again, a high-level estimate of what this cost could be. And at the next committee, we'll bring this back to committee just to tell you what the application amount will be. Thank you, Chair.
So you just want an opportunity here from this committee to move forward and find that out. Is that what I'm getting from?
If I may, Chair, through you, we're looking for direction to apply for this funding.
Okay, understood. Further comments on item number 3? Dan?
Thank you, Chair. With the application, if you're successful, does that mean we have to go forward or can we cancel?
I think that's the option that we have. We still have that opportunity not to go forward. I mean, this is not a green light to do this. This is simply a green light to go forward and find out what it might cost. And we still have that option, as I understand the discussion, to either nix it or not nix it, or go forward with it. It could be $50,000 or it could be $500,000. That's the unknown quantity at this point in time, Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you, Chair. I guess my concern is if we do this application and we're successful and it says 500,000 and we say no, that 500,000 that the people are offering will then go back into the pool and the other people will then get an opportunity to take that 50,000, so it may be 75% instead of the 50. I don't know where to go with that, Chair, but it just...
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a roll of the dice at this point in time. We don't know. All we're asking for here, as I get it from staff, is to move forward and find out what we're dealing with as far as costs are concerned. It could very well be included in the application as to where we're going and what the options might be, but at this point in time, we don't know what that is. But we do know that there's 50% of something that could be, we don't know, but we still have that break that we could decide that if when it does come forward that we want to move it ahead, and if not, we reject it at this point in time. Okay? Further on 3. Okay, then I need a mover and a seconder to accept the recommendation, please. Dan and Peter, no further discussion. I'll call Dan for the vote. All in favor? Opposed of any? It's carried. Thank you. With that, Jason, please, if you want to introduce somebody.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Scott Hamilton. You'll notice a new staff member at the back of the council chamber here. So Scott Hamilton has been with us for a number of weeks as the economic development specialist. So I'd like to introduce Scott to the committee, and you'll see him more and more as he produces good information to the committee and to the staff. So welcome, Scott.
Welcome to the team. There you go. Thank you. Good to have you here. Kathy.
And if I just may add, he came from Whitewater and very effective, and so welcome to the county, Scott. You did a great job for Whitewater, so thank you.
There you go. Welcome. With that, then we'll go to item F under 7, page 34, the real estate division report. Kevin, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the committee. The real estate report is found on page 34. It's a brief report. Item number 1 in the attached appendix is just regarding an update on the current projects that have been completed and the remaining projects that will advance between now and the end of the year. Of course, we continue to hear feedback from our contractors that their challenges is still regarding the supply chain. And now we've also heard from others that they're kind of faced with new challenges regarding the shortage of labor. But we'll continue to work with them on this. Item number 2A, there's been a change since this has been printed. I received notice this morning, mid-morning, from Human Resources that Mr. Derby has declined to accept this position. So we'll continue to work with Human Resources through this process and as we endeavor to fill this position. Item 2B, I'd just like to extend my thanks and appreciation to the 2 summer students that we had this summer, Mr. Grant Hurley and Mr. Adam McQuaid. Throughout the summer, I've received positive feedback from our maintenance staff that they were a pleasure to work with. They just had a remarkable work ethic, and they now have returned to university, and hopefully they'll return to us next year. And Chair, that is the completion of the report.
Thank you very much. We'll back to item number 1. Questions and comments on item number 1 or concerns? Item number 2, staffing update. Any comments on that? This seems to be a common theme, not just here, but throughout the workforce, I guess, in general. Every time you speak to business owners or operators, or even here, they're all having challenges with that, and that's unfortunate. But every effort will be made, I'm sure, to continue through HR to find replacements for to help you out there, Kevin. Comments on 2A. 2B. I think we all want to add to your appreciation of the staff that worked for you down there. Thank you for them, and wish them continued success, and hopefully that they find it in their future to come back and work with us at the county. So on 2B. With that, then, we will go to planning item, or page 36, I should say. Go ahead, Bruce.
Thank you very much, Chair, and through you to the committee. Much like Kevin, my report should be fairly quick today. There's two items. Both of them are related to Bill 109. The first one is an information item, and the second one is a request for a resolution. So I'll just start with the information item, and I'll just very quickly, as a recap, as committee will recall, in July, we, as the county, hosted our first workshop with interested volunteers from different municipalities from around the county that got together to collaboratively work together to review Bill 109 and the implications for local municipalities. And again, this was an attempt to improve and revamp our processes so that we're processing planning applications in a timely manner, and that also we have a consistent approach across the county. So the first information item, I'm not going to go into in too much more detail because item 2 is also related to this, but there's a summary of the working group meeting and some of the discussions that we've had. And then item 2, you'll see, I'll say the result of those working group meetings that we've had. And I'll leave it there, Chair, unless there are any questions. Thank you.
Okay, questions on item number 1. I have to say thank you to the way it's laid out there. We know exactly now the way it's laid out. I think that's great, and the way that we clearly know that no refund, 50%, 75%. I know we've heard about it, but now it's in black and white in front of us. And I think that's very useful for us. I think that should go even to our own lower tier municipalities, give them a sense of what is there as well. But let's wait and see. I'll open it up for comments or questions on the working group. Peter.
Thank you. And I have to admit, I don't think I recognize this, but the ability to revive plans of subdivisions that have lapsed in the last 5 years. I didn't. I'll be honest with you, I didn't recognize that in the changes to the Planning Act. Is that a substantive amount of land in the county that could be brought back online? Is that how I understand this, or is it just enough that we should be making the effort? Thank you.
Through you, Chair. You probably haven't seen this too much because we think it's a fairly minor or insignificant change. I can think of maybe one time in the last 15 years where we've had a situation where a subdivision lapsed, and within that 5 years, the owner was interested in reviving it or bringing it back to life. So I don't think it will have a substantial change throughout the development in Renfrew County, and even currently, I can't think of a single subdivision that has lapsed that this provision will be applicable to. But it is one more tool that municipalities in the county will have to allow development to proceed and encourage development to occur. But I think it's a fairly, I'll say, minor change to the Planning Act.
Peter, follow up?
Yes, please. Thank you. And would this also govern the joining of lots in subdivisions? If I buy a lot, 2 lots side by side, sometimes they've been joined, and then I've had to pay to split them. Would this also be part of that, or is that something that we will manage internally?
Through you, Chair, that would be something that's separate. This does not change the impact of needing to go through, it would be called a deeming bylaw, to deem a subdivision not to exist, then that would allow lots to merge. This would not impact that situation.
Thank you.
Further on 1. Resolutions.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll start with the recommendation and provide a little bit of the background. So the recommendation is that the Development and Property Committee recommend to County Council that staff be directed to initiate the application to consider the draft official plan amendment OPA number 35 in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. And so by way of background, you'll see as attached as Appendix Plan 1 and attached as Appendix Plan 2 are two different documents. The first one is a draft official plan amendment, and the second one is a bold and strike through version of what it would actually look like if that amendment were to be implemented. So it gives a committee an idea of what we are actually proposing here. So most of the time delays in processing planning applications is the review of the studies. Planning has become more, I'll say, complex over the last couple of decades, and when we receive a planning application, there's often a lot of supporting information that is submitted with that application, whether it's an environmental impact study, a hydrogeological study, or geotechnical study. There's many of these information items that are submitted, and there's a review process that takes place with that. And there's a lot of back and forth between consultants, and this is where the majority of delays in planning applications, this is where they occur, is when we're reviewing these applications and there's this review process between whether it's county staff or municipal staff or a peer reviewer on behalf of the municipality and communication with the developers, engineers, or their experts. And that is where a lot of these time delays have occurred. So right now under the Plan Act, when we are processing a planning application, that review time occurs after we've received an application and it's deemed complete. So the application is submitted to the municipality or the county, we accept it, we deem it complete, and then we start this review process. This is where we feel that there's time savings that could be achieved. So Bill 109, as we previously discussed, would implement penalties on a municipality if you are not approving applications within a prescribed time period. So the idea is that we are looking at revamping the planning process and changing some of our previously, I'll say, terminologies, almost like a rebranding. So right now, I know the committee is probably very familiar with we've talked about it this past year quite a bit, is our general inquiry or pre-consultation process, which currently the county offers for free to any residents. Before you submit an application, we encourage you to come in, talk to us, and we'll review what requirements are going to be for that application. What is being proposed is this rebranding. So we're taking that, what right now we call our general inquiry or pre-consultation, and only calling that a general inquiry. So that general inquiry would come in, and that's when we would just identify what are the studies or what are the requirements to be submitted with an application. And then before an application, there would be a second step being implemented, and this is what we would call the pre-consultation stage. And this one is under the Planning Act. You can actually, municipalities, and including the county, whether it's local or at the county level, you can pass a bylaw making pre-consultation mandatory, so that before any applicant is even allowed to submit an application to your municipality, that they have to go through a pre-consultation process. And this is where we are proposing that the review of all these studies be undertaken. So at that pre-consultation stage, they would come with their completed studies, and staff at the municipal level, the county level, or respected peer reviewers would look at the studies, make sure that they're to an acceptable quality or to an acceptable standard, whether it's a provincial standard or an internal standard, and have that review opportunity ahead of that application being submitted. Once they've gone through that pre-consultation stage, then it's that time that the application can be deemed complete, and then we'll move efficiently through that process because there is no longer going to be that back and forth between the applicant and the municipality at that time. So we understand that Bill 109, its intention was to speed up the planning process, but one of the concerns is, well, this legislation just implements new timelines for the municipalities to follow, but didn't actually change any of the process. So we're trying to we're recognizing that we want to have these done as efficiently as possible, but at the same time, the municipalities in the county don't want to have these financial penalties attached to it either. So this is the proposal that we put together, and in addition to some of the Bill 109 things, at the very end of the last paragraph, there was a previous bill, Bill 13, which made some other changes that allows certain approvals to being delegated to staff for minor amendments, whether it's a holding zone, passing of a holding zone, or a temporary use bylaw, for example. But those, to utilize that tool, you have to have an enabling policy in the official plan. And so we've also included that in this document as well, so that we could just get them both addressed with one amendment as opposed to having multiple amendments. So that's also in the document there, Chair. And maybe I'll leave it at that, and if there's any questions. Yes.
Okay, open it up for questions. Warden.
Thank you very much, Chair. So through you, I get that basically what this will do is delays the clock from ticking for us to have to end up meeting those deadlines and then ending up possibly with having to refund money. My question is not a concern, but my question is this then going to delay approvals for people trying to move forward in their development plans?
Through you, Chair. That's a difficult one to answer. So it is going to change our processes. I don't think it's going to result in any delay or time saving. It will allow the application to be quickly processed once it is deemed complete. And again, we're doing the same process. We're just taking the review component out from when the application was until like after this application was submitted, and we're taking that review process and shoving it to the beginning part before the application. So we're doing the same amount of work, same amount of review. It just is changing when we do the work, at what stage we do the review.
Follow up, Warden?
Yes, please, Chair. Thank you. And that's what I really understood what was going to be happening here. So all I would say is that I'd recommend that we really keep track of how this is impacting development and approvals moving forward, because what none of us want to see is that changing in our policy or process causes delayed development even more. So I would just ask that perhaps that we keep track of how it is impacting.
Bruce?
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, well, we are trying to track our development times in our review. It is something that we're going to be looking at. Again, we call these enabling policies. So this is just sort of step one. The recommendation would allow us to proceed with this official plan amendment, and that official plan amendment will still need to go through a circulation process, which will include all of the municipalities who utilize the county official plan, and it will also trigger the need for a public meeting. So, and then once we have an official plan amendment passed, that is only sort of the start of the process. Then the real enabling, then we can start using the enabling policies, which will be at the local level and at the county level, whether we pass bylaws at the county and the local municipality level regarding making those pre-consultations mandatory. We have to look at our tariff of fee bylaw. If we're going to be upfronting a lot of this review time, does that mean we need to change our fees to have a review for a pre-consultation fee? How does this impact our application fees? Do we make if we are front-ending a lot of that review, do we front-end the cost associated with that review and make the applications cheaper, for example? And then I know that at the beginning of the year, committee and council, we had the discussion whether or not to charge for those general inquiries. I'm trying to use that general inquiry terminology as opposed to the pre-consultation. So our previous discussion with regards to whether or not the county wants to implement a fee for our general inquiries, that could also be discussed again with the committee or council with your, take that under advisement, but then definitely looking at whether or not we should front end some of the costs for the pre-consultation review, where we're actually looking at these studies before they're submitted. So there's going to be a lot of things for committee and council to consider over the next few months, and both again at the county level and the local level, and there'll be more information forthcoming.
Thank you, Bruce. Further comment? Oh, Peter.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick questions. So on page 49 and 50, the items that go from A to JJ, they'll be on the front end of a pre-consult application so that people will know that potentially those are the kinds of things that could be sought. And then it's like a tear sheet where they check at the end of the process, it's checked off. These are the one, there might be 7, there might be 12 of those. Is that how I understand it?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Yes, so those are the items that through that general inquiry, that very first step, you first do the general inquiry and then go through that list and yes, give them a checklist saying, here are the studies that you would be required to submit. And then that would be stage A. The second stage would be B with the pre-consultation, where after they have completed those studies, we would review them to make sure that they are completed appropriately and they have the quality that we're looking for. And then stage C would be the final, okay, you submit your application and then we process it under the Planning Act. And since we've done as staff all the review at the front end, that the idea is that planning process under the Planning Act will go quickly and smoothly and in that timelines that will prevent the municipality from having to pay any or reimbursing any of the application fees.
Thank you.
Peter, pardon me, sorry.
Yes, thank you. And if I go to page 53, GH and I, were J and K originally GH and I and you just inserted them and renumbered?
That is correct. And those items too, though we did circulate this draft amendment to the province, and those were 3 items that the province identified that we could add to that process. So yes, G, H, and I were added, and the rest of them were just renumbered.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then with that, can you give me a little bit of an explanation about our interest in exterior design and access? I think I understand the access piece, but the exterior design, please. Item G.
Sure, thank you. So, yeah, this is another item that was introduced under Bill 13. So this is the one that was, I think it was January or February. It is related to a lot of municipalities like to look at character and how these buildings fit within their surroundings, especially if you're in a downtown area or a residential area. They want to look at the exterior design of buildings to make sure that it fits within whatever design elements of the community are. So the only way that municipalities can require it is with the new provision under the Planning Act is if their official plan contains the appropriate policy to allow it. So that doesn't necessarily, again, we call this one an unenabling policy. It's up to, we put the policy into the plan, and if it's approved, then that allows the municipality to utilize this tool. So if we didn't put this policy into the official plan, then a site plan submitted to a local municipality, they wouldn't have that option available to them. It doesn't mean they have to use it. It's just there for a municipality to use if and when it's appropriate.
Peter?
Thank you. I only have 2 more.
No problem.
Thank you. I like that piece because I've heard too many times our smaller communities talk about not being able to either defend or get some synchronicity between so their main street looks similar or different areas. So I think that's a good thing to start with. And with that, the 17.7, the terms of reference, is that will that be defined right off the hop with the 17.17? I'm sorry. When you sit down with the potential developer.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Yeah, so right now the county, and I don't think to my knowledge any of our local municipalities have really developed any terms of references or guidelines. So a lot of times when developers come to us, that's one of their first questions. They'll come through to us and we'll sit down with our peer review team or whoever's going to be doing that review and discuss the study requirements with the developer. And right now that's done sort of, I'll say, after pre-consultation, or sorry, after our general inquiry stage. After we do that general inquiry, we say, here are the studies that are required, and then that will trigger a discussion to say, okay, what are these studies going to look like? How, what information has to be in it? What, and are there certain standards that are applicable? So what this policy, again, will allow to do is that if a municipality or the county want to go and develop set terms of references, for example, a hydrogeological study, we know that there's provincial guidelines they have to meet. We know that there's certain items that our peer reviewer is always looking for. So if we go and establish a terms of reference ahead of time, we could do that, maybe even attach it as an appendix to the plan and say, here you go, here are the County of Renfrew standards. So if you're doing a hydrogeological study, it's already set, the developer knows what those expectations are, and hopefully it keeps everybody on the same page and how these studies are going to be done moving forward. So again, it's one of these enabling policies that allows the municipality or the County of Renfrew to to establish these terms of references or guidelines to sort of assist and make development consistent when we have these applications in front of us.
And again, thank you. And the last one is 17.18, the public engagement pre-application. And I'm wondering if you have given consideration to inserting a term that, something along the lines of, I like this, and I'm wondering if you could give something along the lines of, should there not be substantive change, that would be, the consultation, because I'm not sure we want to have several consultations, one before and then one in the middle and one towards the end. I like public consultation, but at the same time it costs money, and if it's just rehashing the old information time and time again, I'm not sure it's productive.
Thank you, Chair. And this is something that has been, I think this was 3 changes to the Planning Act a while ago. So there's been all these changes over the last couple of years. So it's been sort of complicated to keep our head around all of the changes. But one of the changes was that as part of a complete application, municipalities, you already have this ability, is to require a consultation strategy to be submitted with an application. So for a lot of, I'll say, we'll call them minor amendments, or there's not a lot of public consultation that would probably be required. I'm sure all committee members have been involved in public meetings where nobody shows up and the meeting takes all of 2 minutes and the meeting's done. And likewise, you've probably seen applications that become quite controversial and your chambers are full. So it's trying to find that appropriate balance, so not to require too much public consultation for those minor ones where we know there's not going to be too many issues, but if there is an application that's going to be coming in front of council for their consideration, and that we know there's going to be a significant amount of controversy or concern with regards to it, it's again to meet the requirements of the Planning Act and not have to refund money. If we are waiting until after that complete application to hold that public consultation, it has the ability to delay the township or the county's approval processes, and then get into those areas where we might be needing to refund money. So the idea here is, if there is an application that is, staff can see it as becoming controversial or have some concerns, is to require the developer, again, up front, trying to front load some of that public consultation, so that it would be not the formal public meeting that the municipality hires or would hold or host, but make it mandatory for the developer to go out on their own, engage with the community, whether it's hosting a public open house or something like that, get out into the community and try to see what the concerns are, and if there are things that can be done upfront ahead of time. So before that application comes to council for your decision, that communication and discussions has already been taking place with the community upfront ahead of time.
Peter, and then Dan.
Thank you. And when you talked about the enabling legislation or policy, I can't remember the proper term that you used. Again, just a reminder, if there's a possibility of having an annual report on the decisions that are made by committee or the deemed individual, so that we that are sitting around here can keep track of them, it would be helpful. Thank you.
Dan?
Thank you, Chair. To sum up, if I was a developer, I do the general inquiry, then I do the pre-consultation. In that time frame, everything will be covered. Once I get the green stamp from the pre-consultation, it's going to the final. It should be clear sailing, not coming back again and again for anything, correct?
Yes, through you, Chair, that is the intention, yes.
Okay. Dan? Oh, you're okay? Okay, pardon me. Peter?
And then I forgot to mention, thank you for this. It's been such a rapidly shifting landscape, to use the term loosely. This really helps, me with my focus and my questions. So my questions aren't meant to be critical, they're just trying to clarify it for me so that, and I think everybody in here, because at some point we're going to be approached to try and explain it. And it's been such a rapidly changing landscape. I'm still stuck, as you noted, at Bill 13, I think, and I'm still 3 bills behind, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Further on item number 2. So you see the recommendation. You want it read again, or do you just need a mover and a seconder for this? Peter moving it, seconded by Dan. Further discussion or comments? Jeb, you're okay up there? Okay, fair enough. Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed of any? It's carried. Thank you. That was a good discussion. Okay. With that, we go back to the agenda. New business. Oh, pardon me. Need a motion to accept the report. Warden, seconded by Sheldon. All in favor? It's carried. New business. Is there any new business for the betterment of the development and property in the county of Renfrew? Craig.
Thank you, sir.
CEO.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. I'll echo Director Davis's comments off the top. It was a lot of a team that pulled off some of the works that needed to be done to raise flags, lower flags, and get condolence books and whatnot. So I know DMP tends to be that department that gets things done, and I'm happy they did so over the weekend. So again, thanks to the team for doing that.
Well, thank you for that endorsement. Yeah, we like to get things done. We have that reputation, right? Right, team? Warden.
Thank you very much. And referencing what CAO Kelly just stated, that book of condolences is here at the County of Renfrew for anyone who would like to come, any member of the public who would like to come into the building and sign the book. It'll be here, just in case all those hundreds of people who are watching live right now, they can just rush in and do that. But it will be here, definitely open to the public at least till Monday, correct? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's helpful because, you know, they can, how can I say this politely? When you get 17 municipalities all doing the same sort of things, it's nice if we had a consolidated situation here, and thanks to the warden and the CEO for putting that in place to allow lower tier municipalities, a family of Renfrew County, to be able to come and offer their condolences and sympathies to the family and to the passing of the Queen. So thank you to them. Thank you for that. Okay, further new business. If not, nothing for closed. Nothing for closed. Date of the next meeting is October the 11th. With that, I need a motion to adjourn, please. Kathy, seconded by Sheldon. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.